What does the future of digital cloning look like? Now, digital cloning is something that's in the news constantly. Typically, these days, it's all about the fraud aspect. Oh, someone's voice was stolen. They got into somebody's bank account. A celebrity's voice was stolen, an impersonation. That's in the news, all completely legitimate news stories. In the same way that 30 years ago, stories about fraud on the internet as the internet was starting, totally legitimate. But if you focused just on the fraud part, you missed out on opportunities like Amazon. Amazon is a huge, huge deal. Never could have happened without the power of the internet. And if you focus exclusively on problems, you miss things like that. So I want to spend some time really teasing out the possibilities of where I see digital cloning going in the next few years, but also really in the next 10 years. There's been a lot of developments with various applications, OpenAI, ChatGPT 4.0, other developments are making it easier and easier to do simultaneous translations, to have chats with chatbots with computers that have ingested certain data. Now, I'm specifically interested in digital clones, specifically of individuals who are doing it because of their own free will of it. It's themselves. They're doing it of their own copyright. I'm not talking about stealing Taylor Swift's intellectual property and her music and her talk show appearances. I'm sure someone's trying to do that. I hope they get caught and punished. What I'm interested in is the power of digital clones to completely transform the world, the marketplace, in some ways similar to what Amazon did to the book place marketplace and indeed the entire marketplace. Got a slight, yeah, there we go, slight problem with the autofocus today. So that's what I'm interested in exploring. I would love to hear your opinions as well. You can go ahead and post your comments in the StreamYard link or whatever social media platform you're watching this on right now. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful in life through improving your communication skills and your confidence in your communication. The number one thing we're really focused on, that I'm focused on right now, is a particular tool of digital cloning. That is the idea where your intellectual property, your books, your courses, your YouTube channels, your Zoom calls, anything you want to dictate, basically any thought that's ever been in your head and come out, either in an audio, a video, a text, you can now put it into a digital clone of yourself. It can be synthesized, and someone can have something that seems like a real conversation. They can ask you questions by typing. They can talk to you, your clone, and it can seem like a conversation, and it can be very similar, in some cases better than you actually talking to someone. Now, this opens up a tremendous number of opportunities for anyone who is a subject matter expert, an online course creator, a consultant, a YouTube star, someone who is a celebrity of some sort, somebody who communicates ideas, either useful ideas or entertaining ideas. It opens up an extraordinarily huge realm of possibilities. I'm trying to tease this out and figure out where can this really go, because we're in the infancy of digital clones. Very, very soon, we're going to get to the point where there will be consumer platforms that can allow you, me, anyone to create a digital clone, and it's not just a text back and forth. I find that really not very interesting. We already have them where you can talk to a clone. Your clone can talk back to you in your voice. And I mean really, really close to your voice. I would judge that my clone is now about 95% of sounding lifelike. But we're very close to the point where the clones will show video. So in theory, not too distant future, you can see me talking. You might not know, is it a clone or is it TJ? Now, there's already possibilities for there to be clones taking a speech and making a video. What is not yet widely accessible is the ability to have that clone then talk to someone in real time, answer questions, and have a conversation. Now, Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn and extraordinarily successful technologist and investor, recently posted a video on LinkedIn where he had a conversation with himself. But that was stitching together a lot of high-end technologies, massively edited. This is not to detract from his accomplishment. It really did seem like a real conversation he was having. But that still can't be done without a lot of extra work, editing, post-production, not really applicable to the average consultant, coach, trainer, speaker, expert, perhaps a one-person business who's trying to figure out how can they use a new communication tool. In the way, in the last 30 years, we've all had to learn how to use Zoom. We've had to learn how to use social media. We've had to learn how to go from being interviewed by a reporter, and there's a TV camera here, we look at the reporter, to looking right at a camera when there's no reporter around. All of these have been evolutions. The internet itself, of course, arguably a huge revolution in communication. I believe cloning technology is going to be as big, if not bigger, than the internet itself in terms of a communications tool. But it does raise the question, where does this ultimately go? Where is this leading? Now, some take the view that we should really look at these clones as coaches. That's one possibility, and I think it's a pretty good possibility, but I'm not sure. When I think of cloning, how it can be useful to an expert, an author, a coach, a subject matter, I think of it as primarily something about people who have expertise at some level. They have knowledge, expertise that other people value. Now, the expertise could be in the form of entertaining them through song. There's lots of different types of expertise, but at some level, I'm looking at this through the lens of an individual has some form of expertise, something special, some mix of knowledge, skill that other people want and other people value. So let's really look at this in terms of the lowest possible value up to the highest possible value. And again, for context, I've talked about this before, but when motion picture making first came around, when people first started making movies, it was so new, their only frame of reference was a play. So people used movies to film a play. So when you watched a movie in the early days, it looked just like the play. It was the same set, and it's just a copy of a play. It took a while. It took years before people really understood, hey, this movie making technology, it's its whole new thing. It's not a play. It's not a book. It's its own thing. And ultimately it became, in terms of industry and marketplace, infinitely bigger than plays. I mean, for every Broadway show that is a success, there are a gazillion movies and TV shows that get made and have a potential to make money. The overall marketplace for plays today and musicals in the live theater versus all of movies and all of TV shows and all of streaming, I mean, it's got to be 100 to 1. Are we going to see something similar to that with respect to digital cloning? I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I want us to think through logically from low value to high value where we could go. The first case, you could put a clone on your website. It could answer questions from your users, customers, prospects, people looking for answers to questions. I put that in sort of the lowest value construct, the lowest value level. It's kind of like Wikipedia. Yeah, people like Wikipedia. People use it a lot, but it's free. No one pays. You can give a donation if you want, but the vast majority of people who use Wikipedia don't pay because we now have gotten to the point where simply answering a question seems like something you should get for free. Same with Google. If your clone is simply providing information to people, I don't see that as ultimately being that valuable to the creator. And again, I am looking at this through the lens of the creator, whether you consider yourself an author, an expert, a consultant, a teacher, an online instructor, a keynote speaker, a coach. I'm looking at this through the lens of the creator. How can this digital cloning technology be of ultimate value to the creator? So I put the lowest value there, simply answering questions, providing information. And next levels up is sort of what I would call medium value. That's the value of providing entertainment. Certainly, if you can have your face talking like a silly cartoon character, some people might find that entertaining. Now, I know if I did that, no one would pay for it. They might laugh for a second. There are already apps out there called Fatify that will take your image and expand it and make you very, very heavy for sort of comedic effect. So I do see that as sort of, one step up on the value chain of just providing some form of entertainment. Obviously, if someone is a world-class entertainer and can attract audiences like Mr. Beast, then there's almost unlimited potential value. But again, I'm thinking of this primarily in terms of the typical subject matter expert, not really through the lens of an entertainer. Now, next we have sort of what I would call medium value chain, on the value chain, things of medium value. And that would include things like being able to save time and therefore money on production. If you want to have a video once a month for all of your vendors and you don't want to take the time to do it, you could now have someone write a script for you, plug it into your clone, and your clone make the video, and you would save time and money on hiring a TV production crew, if that's what you typically do. So there's time savings on video production. There's time savings and actual hard dollar savings. So that's one value of a digital clone. The next thing is saving all the time saving for text and audio creation. Back to the low value thing of someone answering questions on your website, and it doesn't have to be you. If your clone can answer questions from customers and prospects on your website, well, then that saves you time and money. If you can hire fewer customer service people to answer questions on your behalf, that saves money. We've seen airlines, we've seen telecommunication companies do that for years with automated robots answering questions and chatbots. It's now available to the consumer level, and I mean individual subject matter experts who don't have huge, gigantic budgets. It's now available to them. The next thing I see, sort of moving up this value hierarchy, customer service. If your clone can answer in-depth questions about your business and save you time, if it could help make a sale, that would obviously be great. If it could answer enough questions from a prospect to make them sign up for a Zoom sales call with you, consultation, whatever you want to call it, then there is real value to that. I put that in the category of medium value, medium to high value. Other things that I put in sort of this medium level of value is it could add to things like a Udemy course, an online course. If you have an online course and it's being sold most of the time for $10, that's kind of a low dollar value product. If you have a clone that can answer questions, make students happier, help get better reviews, help the course seem more valuable, if it can increase the odds of someone taking your course because they know they can answer any question because you have a clone, there is value to that. So I do see that as value. Let's move up the value chain even further. The next thing is using this clone as a really powerful marketing tool. You could put it in an email, say, ask me this question about my new product. In the process of answering questions, you can give answers that could give URLs and hyperlinks to your products, your courses, your workshops, your speeches, your books. So I do think in the short term, marketers are often the quickest to adapt to any new communications technology. And this is the cloning technology AI, digital cloning technology, is a communications tool that is going to be extraordinarily useful to marketers. So I think you're going to see this pretty much permeate every single marketing channel. I don't think you're going to see a sales page or an infomercial or an ad within the next 5 years that doesn't have a digital clone component, where an interested prospect who wants more, who isn't ready to buy yet, doesn't click and then start an actual conversation with a clone of a real person. Now, if it's a huge company, maybe they create a digital avatar that isn't based on a real company, a real person. But I do think a lot of times it will be the CEO. And you will see a digital clone of the CEO answering questions. Now, for so many subject matter experts, if you're an author, an expert, a trainer, a consultant, a speaker, quite often you really are essentially a lifestyle business, a one-person business. Yes, you may have half a dozen freelancers and other people working for you, but quite often you have one primary revenue driver, that person. So communication tools are about helping that one person amplify their viewpoint. So I think using this as a marketing tool is going to be profoundly, profoundly important to see in this evolution of digital cloning and as it rolls out. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's coming and it's coming quickly. By the time you see this, it may already be out. Currently, my own digital clone answers people in text questions. It also answers in audio. You can push a button, call my clone, and talk to it, and it will talk back to you with answers. Very, very soon, it's going to be in a video format. The question is, what is this thing? What does it really become? Now, let's look at some of the higher value. Oh, the other thing I wanted to add is, in addition to being a marketing tool, we're looking at these middle range value things that experts already provide. There's already automated text services I put in the category of things like grammar check, spell check, things people value, things that involve information, expertise that people use on a regular basis and pay money for at some level. Now, these days, very few people buy a spell check that's special. Yes, some people buy Grammarly. But so often it's bundled into software so you don't actually feel it. So it's some percentage of $450 a year, whatever you pay for your operating system and your software. So that's something I put in the category of information services that an expert can provide in a digital realm. Now, let's move up the higher level of skill, and let's move up the food chain of how experts sell their expertise. Training, in-person trainings, live in-person training. That has been my bread and butter for 30 years. The Dale Carnegie Organization does it. AMA does it. Anthony Robbins does it. And this can be anywhere from $99 a day to $1,000 a day to $10,000 a day. Some highly specialized experts may charge $100,000 a day. So live in-person training, that's typically one subject, a very specific amount of time. Could be 2 hours, half day, full day, 1 week. We put that in the realm of training. It's a specific thing. It's different from education. It's different from coaching, training. Next, we have coaching. With the world of coaching, you've got everything from low end. You've got life coaches who will practically pay you to spend a session with them, people who charge $25 a coaching session. You've got real experts with deep expertise and credentials like a Marshall Goldsmith, maybe charging $10,000, $25,000 a day. More broadly, you look at the most widely compensated people in our entire economy, it's often coaches. Now, there's sports coaches for college teams, professional football teams, but their coaches can make $5, $10, $15 million a year in some cases. So coaches clearly have some expertise that is highly respected and highly paid for. on the high end. Next, we have consulting. It's a little bit different from coaching. It's a little bit different from training. It's quite often one-on-one. Could be short-term gig, could be a long-term gig, could be a 10-year gig. But consulting is its own industry related to experts using their expertise to help people and make money. Everything I'm talking about revolves around there. And consulting can be anywhere from $20 an hour to $2,000, even $5,000 an hour. There is a real range depending on the subject matter and the expertise. Next, we have keynote speaking. Again, people will give speeches. It's a way of sharing expertise, from free, which is what a lot of people charge for their keynote speeches, to $200,000, which is what some well-known politicians and celebrities charge for a 1-hour speech. Next on the category of high-value ways of sharing expertise, therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists. This can be anywhere, depending on what country you live in, from $50 an hour to $500, $1,000 an hour. And some people pay out of pocket and may see their therapist once a week for 40 years in some cases. They may spend thousands, some cases tens of thousands of dollars a year for that interaction of talking with a therapist, where it's one-on-one therapy from someone they know and trust with credentials they trust. The next category, personal trainers. You go to a gym, hire a personal trainer. Now, some personal trainers are $25 an hour. Some could be $500 an hour. But that personalized service to help you with your health is a very specific type of expertise that is currently sold. The next I put in the category of education credentialing, meaning you're going to a college and it's giving you a 4-year BA or an MBA or a JD or a medical degree. But I also put into this the category of karate schools that have kids going for years to get black belt, and they're paying for different teaching classes, credentials. They want the green belt, the yellow belt, the blue belt, the black belt. And same with many colleges. People like to have degrees. And I don't mean to say that in any way condescending, but people, and hello to Kira joining us from Uganda. Thanks for joining us today. So it's another way people make their expertise of value to folks, is through a credentialing structured process, whether it's higher education, whether it is a trade school, whether it is a hobby or sport like a karate school. And excuse me, we've just lost our autofocus. Let me get back to the autofocus. We went out of focus there for just a moment. The next thing I see is mentorship. Now, a lot of mentors are free, don't charge anything at all for their services because it's someone in your company or a family member. But there are official mentoring programs where you could spend $1,000 a month. You might spend $100,000 a year to hire someone to be your mentor. Again, it's a little bit different than a consultant. It's not the same thing as therapy. It's not quite the same thing as coaching. It is a mentorship. And so again, I see the value scale going from, as far as what people pay out of their own pocket, from $0 to $100,000 a year. So there's a huge range. The next thing I see is sort of in-person celebrity exchanges. Really rich people will hire a comedian or Beyonce to come to their birthday party and pay them $1 million because it's that one-on-one or your own family and friends and this one celebrity. You could say a lot of speeches are like this. Certain famous authors say, okay, I'll meet with you on Zoom for 3 hours. You can ask me any question you want, and it's $75,000. So I kind of put that in the category of in-person celebrity exchanges, where it's got that one-on-one component. Now, these are all things I put in the category of high value. The question is that we started with today is, where is this digital cloning, video, AI, digital cloning going? I don't know for certain. I'm pretty confident that short term, as I mentioned, it's going to be used as a marketing tool, as an add-on, as an enhancement. Hey, you like my online course for $10? Now you get my online coaching through the form of my digital clone where you can ask me questions, no extra charge. Now don't you like it more? It's only $2 more. Do you like that? We are going to see some of that short term, but that's not what I'm as interested in. I'm really more interested in is, where is this going as an art form? Nobody really knew when the motion picture technology was created what motion pictures would turn into. It turned into its own giant thing of creativity, its own gigantic industry that pretty much dwarfs the amount of money spent creating plays and musicals and books for that matter. My gut tells me that these digital clones with video that look just like a real person, someone knows, likes, trusts, is going to be that big. Big in the sense that it's bigger than what preceded it, and it's different. So I would love your thoughts on this. I'm trying to figure it out myself. I don't have all the answers. I don't know anyone who does. Traditionally, I have sold my services as a trainer. I come for a day, I train you. You pay a nice lump sum fee up front, and then we leave. And there's certain strengths and weaknesses to that. The strength is it's focused on one thing. You get a lot better quickly, and you're not encumbered to pay me forever. We don't have all the travel issues constantly of me having to go to you once a week or you going to me once a week. But there are downsides. If you come to someone like me as an expert on communication skills and I spend a day with you and I help you improve a lot, what happens when you have to give a speech in a different arena? Or what happens if you haven't given a speech or presentation in 3 months and you feel rusty? What happens if you are all of a sudden speaking to an audience 10 times larger than you've ever spoken to? What if I've trained you to do media interviews, but now for the first time ever, you're primetime live on international TV on the BBC and you're just feeling nervous? That's one of the downfalls of hiring any trainer who worked with you for a set, discrete period of time. That's quite often why people value coaches more. A coach is there all the time. A football coach is there for every game and every practice. A soccer coach is there for every game and every practice. And sometimes if you've been with the same team for 10 years, the coach might have been there for 10 years. There's long-standing relationships that can build and improve so that the team gets better, the player gets better, things evolve. It's also the most expensive. As I mentioned earlier, some of the most highly paid people in our entire economy are coaches of professional sports teams. And for that matter, you could say a director of best-selling of blockbuster movie, James Cameron, takes his expertise and it's used in a certain way to create value for other people. And it has created tremendous value for him. He's been well compensated. Can the same thing happen to digital clones? That's what we're trying to figure out here together. It's not going to be worked out overnight. It's not going to be as simple as the button is pushed, platforms now make it available to you to have your own video digital clone of yourself, and all of a sudden all this is worked out. It's going to be an evolution. But it's not too early to think about what could the highest level be, because if you can get there ahead of people, quite often you are very well compensated. You look at a lot of the early people, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's someone like Gary Vaynerchuk and almost all those mediums, when you get to a medium first and you figure out, how do we make this meaningful to people? There are a lot of ways of monetizing it. Gary Vaynerchuk famously got so much attention from his TV wine library show and then other social media, he became so well known, he could start charging $200,000 a speech for 45 minutes of his time. And half of that's usually just him answering questions. That's not putting him down. He's very good at what he does. There are many, many ways of monetizing expertise. There's also many, many ways of monetizing fame. So one of the big questions, I guess, we have to ask for these digital clones is, are we going to see people who have a combination of expertise and entertainment, who have their clones become so wildly popular that they attract mass audiences in the way a YouTube channel does today? Someone like an Ali Abdaal with millions of viewers on his followers, subscribers on his YouTube channel, thousands and thousands of hours of content, in theory, could ingest all of that into a digital clone and then personalize it. Now, for $9 a month, you could start each day with your Ali Abdaal minute where he's asking you, hey, TJ, how do you want to be more productive? And it's entirely possible that YouTube becomes MySpace, meaning it becomes irrelevant. Nobody goes there anymore because everyone is on clones. And there's a free version for clones and there's a paid version. Now, we're already seeing that now. In full disclosure, I have a free version and a paid version of my clone. And that's coming. The question is, does it really become a thing? Does it become meaningful? Do we get to the point where there are people who simply start their careers creating clones by ingesting information, by speaking directly to their clone, telling their clone their ideas, their thoughts, their areas of expertise, perhaps their makeup tips, and then their clone interacts directly with their community, as opposed to bringing people to their YouTube channel or their Instagram page and then saying, oh yeah, by the way, I have this clone for support. I don't know what that is yet. Kira says, I'm sorry, I've been following, but my network is on and off. It's raining here. Well, Kira, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate that. And Shashan has joined us as well. Glad to hear from you. If either of you or anyone watching on any of our platforms, we're live streaming on about 8 different platforms today. If you have used digital clones, including mine, what do you think so far? You may be thinking, what's it for? What does it do? I think there's going to be a lot of that. There was certainly that case with Twitter. And I was one of them. I wasn't one of these people who instantly saw, wow, this Twitter is going to be a huge thing. I was like, what? People are posting pictures of what they had for lunch? That's stupid. That's a waste of time. Well, I missed out. Now I'm on Twitter now, but if I had fully embraced it when it started and been Guy Kawasaki, maybe I would have made tens of millions of dollars off of it. I think we're going to see something similar with these digital clones, in the sense that initially people are going to say, well, what's the big deal? Why would I want to talk to a machine? It doesn't make sense. I don't see value here. It's going to require a lot of experimentation to figure out what the value mix is at 2 levels. One, just to get people to spend time with you, to get their attention. We do live in an attention economy. Just to get people to pay attention, to come to your clone for free, is going to be really difficult for anyone who doesn't already have a huge built-in audience. There's no doubt about it. The next thing is, how do you get people to value it at all monetarily? Do they pay 99 cents for an answer? I'm not very optimistic about that model. I don't think people like micropayments. I know I don't. Are they willing to pay $3.99 a month? Random Rick says people already talk to Amazon's Alexa along with iPhone Siri. You're absolutely right. And most people don't consider those services very good. And those are big, huge corporations, obviously. Amazon, Apple, two of the five largest corporations in the entire world, with Apple often being number one. And between the two of them, I guess they're in the top three quite often. So that's not new of talking to a chatbot. What I'm talking about, Rick, is the ability for you to talk to someone and see the face of someone that you already know, like, and trust because you've either met them in person, you've seen them give a speech before, you've read their books. They are bringing to you unique, specialized subject matter expertise. That's what I'm talking about, the ability to do that. And let's say, hypothetically, you're a huge fan of Jerry Seinfeld, and you have to give a roast of your best friend, or it's a wedding speech, and you have unlimited amounts of money. Would you pay some amount of money to spend a couple of hours with Jerry Seinfeld, where you're talking to his clone? He's talking to you. He's addressing your concerns. You're saying, Jerry, my friend is Bill. I'm giving a best man speech for him. I want to make fun of him gently. And there was this time in college when he came home dejected at 8:30, and I thought he was going to be out on a date with this woman he'd been dying to go out with for 5 years or 3 years. What can I say about that to make it funny? I'm pretty sure Jerry Seinfeld, his brain, based on everything he's talked about, would be able to give you a better joke than you could come up with or I could come up with. And it would not be stealing from Jerry, because you would be paying Jerry's clone. It would be intellectual property that Jerry owns. That, I think, is infinitely more valuable than a joke that Siri or Alexa would give you. So that is what I'm talking about. That is the challenge there. So that's what I'm trying to get my head around, is this idea of how do we climb our way up the value chain? Very few of us have such a huge, huge following and are so beloved, have such fame and such a huge mass following of millions that we could just say, all right, folks, my clone is here. Go ahead and buy it, and it's $1,000 a month to get access to me. Not many people could do that. Taylor Swift could do that, perhaps. Not many other people could. Maybe a few best-selling authors could. Maybe someone like a James Clear, who's been phenomenally successful with the book Atomic Habits, could just go ahead and launch something like that. But for the rest of us, it's going to require a lot of testing, iteration, trying things that frankly don't work out. Rick says, yeah, they had an AI George Carlin do a whole set that was pretty spot on a few months ago. So yes, it's been possible for quite a while now to have artificial intelligence take an image of someone well-known, clone their voice, and write a new script for them and have it say that. So that's been around. There's nothing that new about that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a truly AI-driven digital clone that includes audio and video and text, so that someone can have what appears to be and feels like a one-on-one conversation with that person. That's profoundly different than anything we've seen before. Now, some of you may have heard me mention earlier that Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, did an extensive interview with his own clone just in the last few weeks, got a lot of attention. But that was not live. It was heavily edited. It was using a lot of expensive technologies from different places, cobbled together. Now we're at the point where that technology is about to hit consumer-based platforms so that you can do it and I can do it without spending an arm and a leg. Now, it's not going to be free at first, at least with the platforms I'm aware of, but at some point it could be. And maybe there are limited free versions that are going to be available. So those of us who at some level are experts on something, who make a living with expertise in our brain and getting it out there to help people, it's incumbent upon us to think about these issues and to grapple with it and to stay ahead. Because history is full of people who did well in one medium and just didn't adapt. There were plenty of vaudeville stars who said this talkie movie thing, or these silent movie things, that's just a fad. That's not going anywhere. Well, they went out of business, most of them, ended up obscure and broke. I don't want to be obscure and broke. And that's why I'm trying to really think deeply about what can digital clones of you, of me, of any subject matter expert do in one-on-one conversations with our customers, our clients, or prospects, people in our industry, to create the maximum amount of value. I know it cannot be simply answering a question. People can get questions answered on Wikipedia and Google for free, and ChatGPT. It has to be seen within the context of a journey that takes people from one skill level to a higher level and a higher level. Certainly the value of a mentor is, I started helping you when you were a 22-year-old junior executive, and I gave you advice throughout to get you to, junior executive, and then junior vice president, and now I'm helping you become the CEO because I'm the retired chairman. There are examples of people who mentored executives throughout their career, from junior level person to CEO. Highly valuable relationship. And this relationship consisted quite often of communication, one-on-one communication, in person, maybe over the phone, text, email, a whole series of personalized, interactive communication. If someone said to you, I will mentor you, and the difference between using me and not using me is you end up a senior vice president making $150,000 a year versus CEO of the company with a net worth of $5 billion, what would you pay me? If I could guarantee it, I'm pretty sure you'd say, well, I'll give you $1 billion if I'd get to keep $4 billion. Now, I'm not that sort of mentor, and I'm not suggesting anyone would actually position something like that. But again, what I'm trying to isolate here is the value. Where on the value chain can certain types of expertise distributed in certain ways reside? Mentorship is highly valued. Coaching is obviously highly valued, not just professional sports teams. You could argue that a director of a TV show, of a movie that's highly successful, is a type of a coach. They're essentially coaching the actors on how to deliver their lines. Are we at the point where the artificial intelligence can direct a movie? I don't know, but maybe we are. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me today. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful in life by improving your communication skills and also improving your confidence in your communication skills. Right now, I'm very confident that a lot of people are going to make a lot of money and help a lot of people through the use of digital clones. Do I have the magic that's going to help you do that? No. I'm still at the introductory stages of this. You might be ahead of me. I might be ahead of you by a step or two. But I'm confident that there are going to be plenty of people who help thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, in some cases, tens of millions of people around the globe through their digital clone, because it's going to be so much more powerful than the one-to-many aspect of a YouTube video or a speech. It's much more personalized. And there's been extensive research showing that the difference between a student learning in a classroom where there's 20, 30 people versus one-on-one tutoring, the one-on-one tutoring can help anyone virtually learn 2, sometimes 3 times faster and more effectively. And that's the real power of this, the potential of this cloning technology, in that it allows for what appears to be a one-on-one conversation and communication. And I want to be very clear here. I'm not in favor of tricking people or doing anything unethical. If you contact my clone, it clearly identifies itself. It says, hi, I'm TJ's clone. I'm not suggesting using this for catfishing and nefarious purposes and tricking people and all sorts of potential for abuse that does exist with digital clones. I am interested in the power of digital cloning for subject matter experts to ethically help clients, customers, the industry, and the public through this extraordinary technology. Rick says, yeah, we could see that being around the corner soon as far as digital clones, holographic tech being more consumer level. All this tech through 2024, still no jetpacks. No, we don't have jetpacks that are easily available. I mean, I guess there are some places and military installations where they can use jetpacks, although I kind of felt like I was on one just 2 weekends ago. I was parasailing in the Florida Keys with my family, and then we were just floating around in the air, and it was a great experience, but it wasn't quite self-contained with the pack, but I do get your point. Got some fun updates for you in just a few minutes. We're going to be coming back to you live. We have a very special guest today, Lisa Reed. She's an expert on how to get professional speaking gigs. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. We're going to have a different StreamYard link for that, but we are going to be coming to you live right here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and it looks like we have a problem on Instagram right now. Ben, maybe you can take a look at that. But we're on all the normal channels. Very much appreciate you being here for us. If you have questions for our guest on how to get started in the professional speaking world, she's here for you and she will take your questions. So that's going to be a lot of fun coming up. I'm specifically going to ask her about the use of digital clones to market your speaking. I mean, one of the things I'm talk to people about is when I'm asked to give a speech and the organization, or it's a school, let's say in another continent, and they want me to speak to 200 students, and it's 3 a.m. in my time, and they don't have any money, I want to start offering my clone to give a keynote speech. Now, the technology with certain settings, is my understanding, aren't quite set that way on the consumer platforms, but with a few tweaks, they could. So if I could give a great 45-minute keynote speech to a university in Bangalore, and the students learn and can ask me questions as if I were there, and I don't ruin an entire night's sleep, to me, that seems like a win-win. So that's one of many, many time-saving measures and value creations I see for digital clones. We're going to take a quick break, and Ben, our guest, I'm assuming, has not shown up. She's not due till 10 a.m. in 7 minutes. So I'm going to sign off here now. We're going to be back here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time talking with Lisa Reed, who is the founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now. It's going to be fun. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll see you in just 7 minutes.